You know, I've been collecting video games for over 10 years now, and I've always had a soft spot for shmups or shooters, as I like to call them. So I've accumulated quite a few over the years. There's something about the frenetic gameplay that's so addicting to me. Now, I'm far from being the best at them, I just enjoy playing them from start to finish, no matter how many times I die. So 1cc and high score is really not a goal of mine, and to be honest, if you want a deep review of any game in this video, I highly recommend the channel Studio Mudprints. So in this part 1, I'm going to overview 6 of my 12 physical PS4 shooters and give you some of my personal favorites and recommendations. So let's first start with Ghostblade HD. Now, sadly, this one I missed the first release on PlayAsia with the big box and all the cool stuff that came with it. So I bought this version after that on eBay. It's a Japanese version, but yeah, it's still cool that I have it in my collection. So this one was developed by Ucast, and I think was first released on the Dreamcast in 2015, and now what you're gonna see is the HD version of that game. As you can see, you can choose between 3 ships, and yes, I put the game on easy mode. Throughout this video, all the footage you're gonna see I put on easy. I'm not all that good at shooters, like I said. I just want to get familiar with the game, and if I ever get good at the game, now I'm gonna crank up the difficulty, and yeah, that's how I enjoy my shooters. So Ghostblade HD is a very classic bullet hell shooter, a very good arcade style shooter, and yeah, it's bright, it's colorful, the explosions are nice. I really enjoyed this one. As a matter of fact, I did platinum this game. It's not that hard compared to other shooters. Now, I'm pretty sure it's because I'm on easy mode, but when the game gets too crowded with bullets, it kind of slows down and it's way easier to dodge bullets. And speaking of that, the ship has a very well-defined hitbox with this dot in the center, so yeah, I really like that. So you've got your typical spread shot when you tap the button, and then your more powerful shot when you hold down the button, which is pretty typical in this type of shooters, and your bombs. Of course, you've got your bombs. The music is also very good with its high beat electronic soundtrack that fits the game perfectly. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this one. It's really straightforward. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to finish. But yeah, believe me, it's a very good classic arcade style shooter and I highly recommend it. Next we have R-Type Dimensions EX. This physical version was released by the guys at Strictly Limited Games, and it's a remake of the first 2 R-Type games. So you probably already know this franchise if you're watching this video. R-Type has been around for a long time now, but this version has a couple of very cool features that give these games a breath of fresh air. So for starters, you can choose to have infinite lives, and what that means is that you don't start over every time you die, something I really didn't like about the original. But what's here is even better. You can choose the graphical style you want, something I'll show you in a second. So you can choose between the original 2D or the new 3D mode, widescreen or the original 4x3, all sorts of good stuff. I don't think I have to explain the gameplay of R-Type, but if you don't know, it's a side-scrolling shooter with a particular weapon called the Force. It's a ball that you can either stick to the front or back of your ship, depending on where you want to shoot. You can also throw it so you can shoot at a distance, pretty neat. But what's really cool about this specific version of R-Type is what you're seeing here. By pressing the triangle button, you can instantly switch between the old graphic style of the arcade game or the new 3D style. I'm more of a sharp pixels kind of guy, but the new mode is still kinda nice. And you can go in the settings and really tweak the graphical style of the game. You can play at a crazy angle in an arcade cabinet, make the game 3D but pixelated. I personally really like the Retro 2.0 video effect. Now, as much as I love the gameplay in R-Type, I find this game way too difficult. There's always bullets flying all over the place and it's really hard not to get hit. Not only that, but you lose all your power-ups when you die, which makes the game even more difficult. Oh, and the music has also been revamped for this version, and I must say I quite like both versions of the soundtracks now. And might as well show you a bit of R-Type 2, which in my opinion is a bit more forgiving and fun to play. Next up we have Skyforce Anniversary. This one I got from Limited Run Games. This is number 116. This game was first released on mobile, believe it or not. And I remember back then my Galaxy S7 couldn't run that game properly. It's true that this is one of the more graphically intense shooter out there. It's really beautiful with nice explosion, 3D graphics. So yeah, it's a really pretty game. So what's unique about this shooter is that you can buy upgrades for your ship. Once you complete a level, you can use your collected stars as currency to buy armor upgrades, weapon upgrades, missiles, lasers, stuff like that. What that also means, and some people might not like that, is that you will have to replay the first levels a couple of times before progressing through the game. I personally love this aspect. So there are 9 stages and every stage has 3 difficulty levels with challenges to complete, like not getting hit, destroying all enemies, or rescuing all the humans.
Human rescue.
This is also one of the few shmups that's widescreen. Now you might think that it must make the game a lot more difficult, but it's really not a bullet hell. It's much more slower than that, so it's really not that bad. You have time to travel from one side to another, so yeah, it's really well made. Next on the list, Sine Mora EX. This one I bought directly on Amazon a long time ago, and it's still pretty cheap if you want to get it. So this one is a horizontal shooter, and right off the bat, you can see how beautiful this game is. This has to be one of the best looking shooter ever made. The environments are colorful and have a lot of detail. And the levels are varied too. You'll find yourself underwater, in a cave fighting huge worms, and then in some sort of factory. It's really a joy to go through the different stages.
Die.
The boss fights are also great. They're huge, really intense battles where you have multiple parts you have to destroy. As for the gameplay, this game doesn't have a health bar or one-hit kill like other shooters. Instead, as you can see at the top of the screen, you have a timer, and this is basically your health bar. You can collect items and kill enemies to increase it, but as soon as you get hit, the time left decreases, and when it reaches 0, it's game over. Now, it probably sounds a lot harder than it really is. You actually have more time than you really need, and you can take a couple of hits without being too much penalized. With that being said, I have to say that this game is really tough, and you will need a lot of practice to beat it. Still, highly recommended. Now let's take a look at Raiden 5 Director's Cut. This one I bought on Amazon for around 40 bucks, and what's cool is that the soundtrack is actually included on this disc right here. Any gamer that's been around in the 90s know this game series. It's been on so many different consoles like the SNES, the PS1, and the arcade of course. They all share the same overall gaming experience. You can choose between different weapons and ships. The music is mostly excellent, and the gameplay is more often than not smooth and really fun. This one, on the other hand, I don't know what to think about. The core gameplay is actually there. The graphics are nice and all, but it's the stuff they added all around that's kind of annoying at best. Like the story and chatting that's constantly playing in the background. I mean, I can't really concentrate on what they're saying even if the story is interesting. Sorry I turned it off while recording this footage, so I can't show it to you, but imagine someone speaking to you constantly while trying to dodge bullets. It's kind of annoying. And then there's this cheer system and graphics all around the screen. It's just too much for me to handle. But don't let what I say discourage you from playing the game, because the gameplay and music are just amazing on their own and worth the playthrough. Maybe if I give this game more time, I'll realize how good it is, but for now, I like my shmups a little more simple and straightforward than this one. Now to end part 1 of this video, let's take a look at Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron. This one was pretty cheap on Amazon and is still around $15 or so. Aces of the Luftwaffe was developed by Handy Games, and I personally never heard of this game before playing it on the PS4. This is a horizontal shooter, and like Skyforce, this one is widescreen, which I can appreciate. The visual style is also nice with its cartoony look, which is not quite like a Q-'em-up. In this game you have teammates, and they all have skill trees to unlock while progressing through the game, earning XP and spending skill points after leveling up. Now, one major drawback about this one, and what makes me not like it at all, is actually these teammates I mentioned. They all have status effects that, while funny, don't add anything to the gameplay other than to be annoying. You've got this one who's poisoned and you have to move slowly for a while, which is extremely frustrating in a shooter.
Don't bug him. It's chronic, you know. He's suffering from it since childhood. It's okay. I just have to keep cool for a while.
And then this guy who falls asleep and you have to protect him while he sleeps. Ugh, it's annoying.
You forgot insanity, Knuckle Johnny.
We better have an eye on him while he's sleeping. Got him.
Not only that, but having 3 ships flying around you makes the hitbox so much bigger. Now the game isn't over when one of them dies, they actually come back after a while, but I don't know, I prefer having a simple and small hitbox. This shooter is really the only one that I really don't like in my collection. To be honest, I can't see people liking this one, it's just really not for me. Alright, this concludes part 1 of my PS4 Shmups collection. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe for part 2 because there will be some of my favorites in this one and you don't want to miss that. Alright, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time.